look at the activities in the commodities market. It's a market review where we bring you developments in the financial and capital market as relates to the economy. Today, we're looking at repositioning the Nigerian Commodities Exchange ecosystem. Let's give you a lineup of what we'll be looking at today. AFEX Commodities Exchange weekly review. Developments around the concerns around Maize Ban. Is there going to be a food security challenge, and at what cost? And also we'll look at the latest issuance of new regulations from the Securities and Exchange Commission on collateral management, crowdfunding and other sundry amendments, but particularly that collateral management, which is of immense concern to the commodities ecosystem. Let's begin with the review of the previous week activities in the AFEX Commodities Index Composite, which experienced no change in the week under review. It closed at 249.47 points. This is as a result of the scarcity of commodities in the market as the incoming harvest draws closer. Cocoa declined by 1.53%, while sorghum and ginger remained unchanged for the week as against the previous week. Truck drivers are optimistic that the increase in the pump price of the premium motor spirit will not affect the price of diesel in the market, according to the weekly report statement, since most trucks consume diesel instead of PMS. Thus, they expect a good movement of commodities come harvest on the exchange. Maize, soybean, and paddy rice retained their prices as that of the previous week, closing the trading week at 179,266 metric tons. That's 179,266 naira per metric ton, 146,579 naira per metric ton, and 215,000 naira per metric ton for maize, soybean, and paddy rice, respectively. Sorghum and ginger, however, maintained their price levels in the week under review, while cocoa dropped by 1.53%. In the open market, cocoa maintained its price. Paddy rice and ginger dropped by 15.32% and 13.88% respectively, while there was an uptick in prices of maize, sorghum, and soybean. The aggregate volume of trade executed on the exchange in the week under review totaled 10.18 million metric tons, with paddy rice and cocoa accounting for 34.38% and 65.62% of all the traded volume, respectively. That's a review of the previous week and how activities went on in the commodities market. The Central Bank of Nigeria has approved the importation of maize by only 4 companies. That's the Maize Ban we're talking about now and what to expect. This decision comes 1 month after the AFEX Bank banned the importation of maize and restricted maize importers from accessing forex from official sources. So if you're an importer of maize, it's really going to be challenging to get the forex from official sources because there is a current restriction of foreign exchange allocation to that space. So in an attempt to increase local production, which is part of the drive of the Central Bank of Nigeria, and safeguard rural livelihoods, the Central Bank of Nigeria's actions triggered maize shortage and a spike in prices. The government is ostensibly seeking to strike a balance between food imports and local production capacities to meet the shortfall. This is in line with its policy on food security and sufficiency, despite being Africa's largest producer of maize. Nigeria imports about 400,000 tons each year to meet domestic demands. The federal government also announced plans to release 30,000 tons of maize from the national reserves to animal feed producers to deal with the high cost of poultry production. And this includes maize constitutes over 50% of poultry feed content. These 4 companies will import a total of 262,000 tons of maize into Nigeria. Wakot Limited, 60,000 tons, Chi Farms, 60,000 tons, Crown Flour Mills, 22,000 tons, and Premier Feed Mills, 120,000 tons. The Nigerian Customs has issued a stern warning stating that the exercise will run strictly from August to October, during which only the aforementioned 4 companies will be allowed to import maize into the country. The new development is expected to increase the supply of the commodity in the Nigerian market and moderate its price. It will also reduce the price of products such as golden morn and cornflakes, thereby lowering food inflation in the country. For those of us that like those cereals, it's good news. Nigeria's food inflation was 15.48% in July and could rise further in the coming months on the back of a higher logistic costs, which we're all seeing before us. In addition, sorghum, which is a substitute for maize, will record a fall in its price due to the cross-elasticity effect as the demand for sorghum falls. However, the impact of this development on Nigeria's terms of trade is that the import bill will increase. And this is why government is very careful about how it's managing the forex, the import bill. So it's putting pressure on the reserves level and the naira. In the long term, the Central Bank of Nigeria should, according to this analysis, incentivize corn production, and it could lead to Nigeria becoming a net exporter of commodity after attaining self-sufficiency. These are excerpts from Financial Derivatives Company, a leading economic and financial research group in Nigeria. Now, let's move on to the Securities and Exchange Commission. There are some developments that have come up in terms of regulations and proposed rules that will have impact on the markets. So according to the Securities and Exchange Commission, its exposure of new rules for the collateral management particularly has come on, and there are some interesting things to look at from that rules. The proposed rule on collateral management company, it's covering the various aspects of that collateral management company and alongside the crowdfunding and sundry amendments. So the proposed amendments cover the following in terms of the scope of what it's going to do. Rules 45 and 1, that's 45 subsection 1 and 2. And of course, proposed amendments to Rule 67, sub-broker re-exposure. The other proposed amendments to Rule 70, the records of transaction with clients. Proposed amendments to Rule 76 for risk management. The proposed rule on collateral management has the following definition of terms. In these rules, unless the context otherwise requires, the assayer is an authorized entity, personal institution, that certifies and grades the commodities that are delivered in registered warehouses. The Collateral Management Company, CMC, means a company registered by this commission will provide collateral management services. And this means the activity of managing commodities as collateral, including but not limited to the following: providing enabling environments and arrangements for collateral commodity financing, issuance of credible warehouse receipts and other necessary arrangements for agricultural commodity financing, provision of quality warehousing services involving storage and preservation of commodities, and stock audit, evaluation, and verification services. The collateral manager means a company registered by the Commission to act as a third-party holder of commodities, deposited by a depositor who is financed by a lending institution or for commodities to be traded on a recognized exchange in a warehouse owned or effectively controlled by the collateral management company. The Commission, in these terms of agreement, is SEC, who is the driver of this process and follows the guidelines under the Investment and Securities Act 2007. The commodity in question means raw material or primary agricultural products that can be bought and sold, such as grains, livestock and its derivative products, extractive minerals, and all other goods and articles, except all services, rights, and interests in which contracts for future delivery are presently or in the future dealt in, or any product resulting from any of the above activities, including byproducts of such products and any product which is intended to increase the production of anything referred to in the initial statements made. For depositor, it means a person who will deliver commodities to the warehouse operator for the storage or transfer of ownership. And in the terms around electronic warehouse receipt, which is also known as EWR, it means an acknowledgement in electronic form that is negotiable and transferable, issued in favor of the holder of the receipt, issued by a collateral management company against deposit of specified commodities with the warehouse as proof of title to the commodities held at the warehouse. For the exchange, of course, the Commodities Exchange duly registered by the Securities and Exchange Commission, it will be the term in that regard. And for financial institution, it means any entity licensed by the Central Bank of Nigeria to, amongst other things, provide financing against securities, including warehouse receipts. For the physical warehouse receipt, it means a temporary non-negotiable and non-transferable receipt issued by a collateral management company warehouse operator for a maximum period of 2 days to a depositor upon depositing commodity in the warehouse for the purpose of acknowledging the deposit until the issuance of electronic warehouse receipt to the depositor. And in terms of the standard operating procedure, SOP, the document is describing processes, actions, and responsibilities relevant to the operations of a registered and accredited warehouse. The warehouse in turn means any premises registered by the Commission to be used for the storage of commodities deposited by a depositor. The warehousing guidelines also covers the guidelines that have been issued by the exchange and collateral management company with the approval of the Commission for compliance by all registered and accredited warehouse in relation to storage, warehousing management, and supply chains to inventory, maintenance, and distribution standards. For the terms on the warehouse operator, it covers any person responsible for managing registered warehouses. The warehousing receipts will document and title the issues by a warehouse operator as evidence that a specified commodity of stated quantity and quality has been deposited at a particular warehouse location by a named depositor. It allows the depositor to confer a security interest in stored commodity to another party without requiring physical delivery. In terms of the weight or quantity, in relation to a specific commodity, it means that duly adjusted for the specified commodity in accordance with the approved standards. So the weight or quantity will be duly adjusted according to the approved standards. And now, in terms of the registration of collateral management company, the condition applicable to a CMC include the following. No person shall provide collateral management services unless registered by the Securities and Exchange Commission. So nobody, for those of you in the commodities exchange ecosystem, no CMC will be allowed to operate if it's not registered by SEC. A CMC shall not undertake any other form of business except for collateral management services and any other incidental services as determined by SEC from time to time. Now, what are the registration requirements? An application for registration as collateral manager shall be filed on the appropriate SEC form and shall be accompanied by 2 sets of completed appropriate SEC forms to be filed by the sponsored individuals, a copy of the certificate of incorporation certified by the Corporate Affairs Commission, where a copy not certified is filed. The applicants shall present the original for citing by an authorized officer of the Commission. A copy of the memorandum and articles of association certified by the Corporate Affairs Commission, which shall among others include power to act as a collateral manager. A copy of the appropriate CSC form, Corporate Affairs Commission form, containing particulars of the directors certified by the Corporate Affairs Commission. Copy of latest audited accounts or audited statement of affairs for the companies in operation for less than 1 year. A fidelity bond representing 20% of paid-up capital from the CMC, and sworn undertaking to keep proper records and render returns. There must be an evidence of minimum paid-up capital of 50 million naira. Application for registration of a minimum of 2 sponsored individuals, one of whom shall be the chief executive officer and the 2 principal officers of the collateral management company, who shall be registered as sponsored officers. They must have a minimum of a university degree or its equivalent with not less than 10 years post-qualification experience. A list of key officers and technical experts engaged and details of their qualifications, which should capture evidence of financial, technical capabilities to carry out the functions of a collateral manager. A list of relevant technology systems in place as required by collateral management services. Information relating to the market facilities, including assaying facilities, warehousing, aggregation, computerization, and telephone systems as a well-finalized business plan. And 2 copies of existing or proposed bylaws or rules, codes of conduct, warehousing guidelines, amongst others. then the instruction and inspection manuals of warehouse activities. There must be detailed information about the promoters and principal officers of the Collateral Management Company, and we expect 2 copies of the warehouse accreditation requirements of the Collateral Management Company. There must be detailed information about the technology system to be adopted, and the CMC must take an undertaking to always forward copies of amendments of its guidelines for approval by the Securities and Exchange Commission. So this leads to where we'll look at the minimum paid up capital and fidelity insurance bond. There must be an evidence of required minimum paid up capital of 50 million naira. You must also maintain a fidelity insurance bond covering 20% of the minimum paid up capital as stipulated by the Commission's rules and regulations. Maintenance of record by a collateral manager will cover the following. Every CMC is required to properly maintain the following, and this is for those that will intend to operate in the space. All the records relating to depositors in this regard and complaints, if any. It must also cover such other record as many required by the Securities and Exchange Commission, while every CMC shall ensure that the record referred to in is maintained and preserved in good condition for a period of at least 7 years. Every CMC shall have amongst the following. They shall ensure that the record is kept at such a place and maintained in such a manner that it is easily accessible, and establish a record retention policy which shall ensure that all relevant legal and regulatory requirements are complied with. What are the duties and responsibilities of a collateral management company? The collateral management company shall do the following. Ensure that its board of directors and the chief executive are appointed with prior approval of the commission, that's SEC. Ensure that key officers fulfill the fit and proper criteria as provided in these regulations. They shall also maintain eligibility criteria provided by the commission and notify the commission immediately if it ceases to fulfill any of the conditions provided in the rules. They shall maintain high standard of integrity and fairness in discharging their functions and dealing with other persons with whom they have agreed in writing to render services as CMCs. They shall fulfill their obligations in a fair, efficient, transparent, and ethical manner. They shall act with due skill, care, and diligence in performing all their functions and discharging all their obligations and responsibilities. Upon registration, they shall display such license in a conspicuous place in principal places of its business. They shall establish the procedure for pledging in favor of a financial institution the depositor's commodities held with the CMC or the warehouse operator against which electronic warehouse receipt has been issued. They must have inspection arrangements or a list of third-party examiners responsible for the inspection. They must also have a list of approved third-party assayers who shall verify and grade the commodities stored at their accredited warehouses and also certify a warehouse. Now let's look at the warehousing, registration of warehouses. What are the processes? Every warehouse that stores commodities to be traded on the registered exchange shall apply to be registered by the Securities and Exchange Commission. So all the warehouses now operating, you have to be registered by SEC if you're going to be active in the Commodities Exchange ecosystem. The Commission shall maintain a register of all registered warehouses, which shall be published on its website. A warehouse applying for registration shall do the following. Present evidence of construction in compliance with the National Building Code. Present evidence of compliance with relevant federal and state regulation relating to the operation of warehouses. Have facilities appropriate for storage of commodities. Have appropriate security arrangements in place. Have adequate trained staff with expertise and knowledge of scientific storage of commodities. Have requisite equipment for weighing and quality measures. Have comprehensive insurance cover for the building, equipment, stock, and other items as may be necessary. Be located in a place with access to infrastructure to support its operations and have efficient or sufficient space for parking and movement of large vehicles. These warehouses must submit a standard operating procedure which shall cover the following among others. procedures for acceptance of goods to be deposited and delivery of goods, procedures for weighing, sampling of goods to be deposited in compliance with industry standards, procedure for verification of commodities and communication to depositors, procedure for maintaining the quality of the goods stored in line with relevant specifications, procedure for know your depositor, which is very important, security policy for ensuring the safety of the goods, the procedure for the use of modern techniques for storage of goods, the procedure for determining and addressing the losses due to theft, fire, burglary, fraud, negligence, and force majeure events, procedure for internal verification of stock, procedure for maintenance of warehouse and preservation of stock, organizational structure, which is very important, and a job description for every staff. Now, the exchange accreditation of collateral management companies, warehouse assayers, have the following components: a registered collateral management company, registered warehouse and assayer shall be accredited with an exchange in order to handle commodities linked to the exchange. The exchange shall make an initial assessment at the time of accrediting a warehouse, as well as annual assessment in relation to each warehouse accredited, and maintain a copy of the report for a minimum period of 7 years. Exchanges shall periodically submit details of warehouses accredited, and inspections will be carried out to the commissions as may be prescribed. Now, a collateral management company may be accredited by more than one exchange. That is a very important thing to note. They can be accredited by more than one exchange. In addition to the provisions of these rules rolled out by the Securities and Exchange Commission, the exchanges may prescribe additional guidelines for compliance by the accredited collateral management companies, warehouses, and assayers. And I must tell you that this is very massive for the commodities exchange market, because with the CMCs now, we'll begin to see more value, more storage, more documentation, transparency, and activities as we expect. And in the subsequent editions of this segment of review of the commodities market, we'll get on experts to talk about the CMCs and how they will help to drive the activities of the market. But just to note that the Securities and Exchange Commission are being proactive to bring out those rules and guidelines, and this one particularly would help to boost activities in the Nigerian Commodities Exchange ecosystem, because that is one space that was not really leveraged over the years, and as the nation heads to 60 years, we just need to begin to ramp up in that area and begin to boost our commodities exchange, create value. I mean, that value is really needed in the commodities exchange. And with already the functional private commodities exchange, that's AFEX, and the expectation that the Lagos Commodities and Futures Exchange will come on board later this year, we intend to see more activities in that space and see how the collateral management companies will fit in. Also, we have the Abuja Commodities Exchange, or you could call Nigeria's Commodities Exchange, in that space. And so a lot is expected from these new guidelines, and we hope that in subsequent editions and as the days goes by, this will once again bring value to our commodities markets. I want to thank our viewers who have been sending their views around the commodities market discourse, and we will want to assure you that we'll continue to respond as required and give you further insights. Experts, when they feature, will also speak onto those issues. Please keep your comments coming. Send them to news@procng.com, and we would look at those comments or questions and respond appropriately. Also, you can also engage us through a hashtag AskWebTV every market review session, 10 a.m. on Thursdays. And that'll be all for today's edition of the Market Review. You can visit our website, www.procng.com, to watch our videos, read our news reports, and analysis. Just to speak to all our investors and the public that this period, please avoid platforms that promises you 100 to 200% returns but not registered or regulated by the Securities and Exchange Commission. They are very risky investments to make. We don't want you to lose your hard-earned savings or investments. Till we come your way again, let's make it happen again tomorrow, 10 a.m., last day of the week. We call it a Friday, and we hope to get you on the very interesting conversation around the markets. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day. and stay safe.